4.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, oh Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna and welcome to the Vaishnava Voices podcast. My name is Sitapati Das.
And my name is Dana Devi.
Vaishnava Voices podcast is coming to you from a small rural town in the North Island of New Zealand, where we live on a lifestyle block of 5 acres with 4 cows, 24 chickens, and 2 cats. We also have a daughter, 15, who lives with us, and our son, 21, is starting his adult life in Australia.
Lucky for some. You may be wondering where I'm from. I am from Peru. At home, we speak Spanish, and it's exciting to speak my own language.
I learned to speak Spanish in 2001 to 2004 when I lived in Lima, Peru, doing service in the BBT and in ISKCON temples. The Vaishnava Voices podcast is created inside a commitment to the possibility of connecting Vaishnavas from around the world, sharing knowledge, information, perspective, and wisdom, and transforming the conversational environment that we live in.
Life is real, and let's share what's happening in our world. And let's make a life exciting, because it doesn't need to be boring.
We'd love to have you come on the show to share your experience, perspective, knowledge, and wisdom. So reach out and start a conversation with us. Feel free to do it anytime. And enjoy today's episode.
Looking forward to talk to you.
Hare Krishna.
Jai Shri Ram.
And we're live. Welcome, folks. Thanks for joining to our 4 live viewers right now and everyone else who's watching this in the future. Millions of people, many of whom haven't even been born yet. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Give us a thumbs up. Let us know if you can hear us in the comments. I've got the comments section open here. Yeah, that's our new intro that we recorded this afternoon.
It's before.
Yes. And yeah, if you can hear us, just drop a comment letting us know that you can hear us on the video. Our guests for tonight, scheduled guests, Bhima Karma Prabhu, aka Lalita Das, and his wife Chaitanya Leela couldn't make it. They're dealing with some health issues at the moment, but under the weather, couldn't come. We've had to postpone that episode. We'll put it out another 2 weeks into the future.
Those things happen.
They do. So we thought we'd just jump on and freestyle something.
So today the topic is
Communication. Disagreement and upset.
We all deal with this, and we all sharing words. Sometimes it doesn't go through, sometimes it does. We end up with upset and a lot of world going around our head, but that's life.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about communication and the superposition of upset and disagreement recently. We did the Communication Access to Power course on the weekend. And I don't know, it's probably conceptual for people, but what I got out of that, and there's a whole lot of concrete things. Like, for example, last night, when I was talking with my coach from Communication Access to Power about like what's next for me, what's the structure of the program that can support what I'm up to. So I'm looking at doing the team management and leadership program. It goes for a year. He asked me, what do you want to get out of it? So I said, look, we got this community here that we're building, this project. We want to have 20 people living in this small self-sufficient community here. It's like a localized version. And then at the global level, what I'm committed to is creating an alternative to the World Economic Forum. Because you got Agenda 2030, they got a very crystal clear vision for humanity, for humanity's future. And there are a lot of people around the world who are not aligned with that vision. They're not into it.
Correct.
And they're all protesting against it. People are opposing it, but there's no concrete alternative to that. There's no are you for, it's either you're for Agenda 2030 or you're against Agenda 2030. There's no Agenda 2029, Agenda 2031 that you can say, I'm not into Agenda 2030, I'm into Agenda 2031. So I want to create at the global level an alternative to the World Economic Forum that produces the concrete vision for humanity that people can get enrolled in, they can register into it, and then we can, have that realized in the world rather than Agenda 2030. So Marcus is like, that's great, they're totally all about it, and we'll use the structure to support that. So I get off the phone And then we have a conversation about it. And then the first thing that shows up for me is like, you're not into it. Like, she doesn't want me to do it. And then I immediately kind of become like, well, like, I'm supporting you in what you're up to. And then I want to do this thing and you don't want to support me in that. And that was what was right there for me. Thinking like that, and that makes perfect sense. And if I'd continued down that track, that would have just turned into a horrible train wreck of an argument. But what I did was I gave that up. I was like, okay, let me just get what it is that you're saying to me. What was it that you said to me? You know what? I can't even remember exactly what it was, but you were basically saying things like, can you remember what you said?
Yeah. To check the schedule, commitments, how much it requires of your energy, time, and everything, and work. So anything to balance. And I said, I don't want to be left managing the house and this and that. And it's just going to be you going this way, me going that way. And we just, instead of meeting each other parallel, we're just going to be this way. And I'm not okay with that.
Yeah. So I listened to that as like, you're not into it. You don't want me to do it. You're not supporting me to do it. That's where I was listening from. That was the conclusion that I'd come to about, the meaning of your communication to me. And then I gave that up and just stayed in the conversation. And then we ended up like having fun and laughing. And what I came from not going with that conclusion about what I thought you were saying, and just staying like bringing nothing to that conversation, continuing to listen to you, like, it's kind of easy at a certain point to go like, I understand this and I know what this is. And it's not even necessarily at an informational level. Like, I heard everything that you were saying there, but I made an inference about what your kind of intention or what you wanted out of it, or where you were coming from. A bunch of different conclusions like that just arose automatically and invisibly, and they become like real, like, oh, she's not into it, she doesn't want me to do it, she's not supporting me to do it, like that. But by putting all of that aside, where I ended up in that was discovering that actually what you're saying to me was, I love doing things together. Yeah.
I actually say that with words. I do want to do things together, because the project that you create is not only this 2029 thing, it's the developing Vishnu Prema Pali. And it's like, hey, I want to do that too. I've been trying, this is something that is in my radar, and how is this going to end? Like, I don't want to be like doing this and you doing that. And then we just, like I mentioned, right? We're going to be in different pathways, going different opposite sides, and it's not going to be fun. So we have to have a conversation where we're going in the same direction, where we just like, I know where you're going, we're just keeping each other safe distance, right? Not safe distance, but connected.
Hare Krishna, Anil. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, I mean, look, there's a way there. I could do something like coach you on how to say that in a way that would communicate that to me, because there'll be ways of like speaking that will reactivate conclusions for me automatically. So I could go around trying to train people how to speak to me. That's probably not going to go very well. So the powerful thing about the Communication Access to Power course is that the very fundamental principle thing at the beginning is that communication is where communication access to power goes to look for the access to power and communication is not in speaking, but in listening. And listening. Yeah. So I got to listen from nothing by taking out all those conclusions that I'd come to in that conversation. So how do we get onto that? So we did the Communication Access to Power. Transformative education. It's like 2 days and an evening, and you gain access to breakthroughs that continue to deliver results. long after, you get like all kinds of breakthroughs in the course itself, but then there's the distinctions that you can continue to bring. And one of the things that I distinguished there was that, the environment that we've been in over the last 4 years, highly kind of contentious, charged, a lot of disagreement over things.
Yep.
One of the things I've realized about that is that when people get upset, because you said earlier that, people have disagreements, discussions, communication stuff, and that it can cause upset. What I come to realize about that is that the communications themselves don't cause upset. What's happening is that upset is already there, and then you bring upset to the communication. So nobody ever actually says anything that upsets you. And that's where the crux of this issue comes from, is that someone says something, you get upset, and then if you are that what they said is what upset you, you're never going to be able to get that resolved.
Right.
Because what they said is not what upset you. There is an upset there already, and you brought that to their communication.
Right.
I'm at the beginning of the discovery of this, but like there's a lot of upset, even for myself, around everything that happened with the mandates, the lockdowns, the propaganda, having my Facebook account deactivated after 12 years of being on there. And then there was so there's all of that. That's what happened. And then there's like the upset, you could say, around that, about that, but it's not caused by that. None of that upset is actually caused by that. I got my Facebook account deactivated. So what,
Yeah.
But yeah, the upset is something that you bring to the communication or to the disagreement. So I think the first thing is like distinguishing that, whatever upset is there, well, those two things oftentimes go together. Upset and disagreement. You disagree with something, with someone, with something they said or something like that, and then there's upset there as well, and then so you have disagreement and upset together in the same space. And so why I was looking from there was because I went into the course. I didn't go into the course I was kind of like, our communication could be better. But I didn't go into the course being like, I want my communication with my wife to be better or anything like that. I want to break through in my communication with my wife. I was like, our communication is like, it is what it is. And it's, it's okay. It's like, we have our ups and downs, et cetera, et cetera. I went in there. So I didn't go in there looking for that, and I didn't expect it, and I got it, to the point where last night, I could have been like, oh man, that could have turned into an argument, or like some kind of resentful thing where it's like, I'm not saying anything and I'm thinking this thing. But instead, where we ended up was arriving at the point of, hey, I got that you love doing things together. Let's do things together, and I'll figure out a way that we do this together, because that's fun and I love doing that. But I went in there with on my information form, I put a bunch of things, and then I started to run out of space because you can only put 5,000 characters or something. So I put, to be authentic, I want the power to punish the perpetrators and protect the people. That's what I want. And so, this vision of creating this alternative to Agenda 2030 is like the pathway to doing that. And I knew before I went into the course that, it's not going to work if upset and disagreement collapse together, because those two things together are constraining my ability to communicate, because there are people who I disagree with, who disagree with me, who I have disagreement with over various different things. But if I can only work with a small subset of people who completely agree with me, there's no way to build something that can take on the WEF. Because even if you look at Profest, there was the New Zealand Parliament occupation in 2022. So many different people there. so many different points of views and perspectives, and we could all coalesce on that one thing, which was, anti-mandates.
Right.
That was the one thing we all had in common there.
Mm-hmm.
We were all against the mandates. But then if you have a look, all of that kind of unity and unity of purpose, unity of action has dissolved to a large degree now that that's gone away. So there's a lot of people who fundamentally disagree with the WEF, but they also disagree with other people who disagree with the WEF.
Mm-hmm.
And so, to be able to effectively do this, it's going to involve having people who disagree with each other working together.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's the communication course was and is a tool that I didn't have before. The access that I have with that, it's something that I didn't come across, like, for example, at work, we do like the communication thing, how to communicate, just be nice and be kind and so and so. And you know what, even if you're nice and kind, there's out there, there's this, like you say, the upset is already there, and then you already have a view of the person, you already have a feeling of the person, or the conversation itself already creates some sort of like either a blockage or some sort of like resentment, or nah, I'm not with this, whatever it is. But when I did the communication course, it's more being aware, self-aware, like where I am, that the person has nothing to do. The person is just delivering what the person has to deliver, but it's in my part that I have to see what I'm dealing with. And it could be this person, could be a communication, could be whatever, what this person is bringing to me. And that is kind of like a fine, you need this detail and expertise to cut yourself there.
Mm-hmm.
Because the communication is just for us. Some people have the understanding communication is just you open your mouth and you start throwing words, how you feel and what you feel and why you feel the things that you feel, and then to the other person, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just sharing what I feel. And the other person's like, maybe you should be careful with what you feel and just say things carefully because it hurts me. And then there's two headstrong people just battling there about feelings and emotions, and the other one is defending, the other one is protecting, the other one is dominating, or whatever is happening. And that is something that for me is very powerful. And I've been communicating like for past 30 years in the way that I've been communicating, but nothing is as good as this communication course.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, developing from a weekend that we went there to now, it's a weekend, 1 week already passed.
Mm.
And it's like, okay, so what's in there for me? Why am I saying these things that I'm saying? And what is my my perception of the person already? What is my feeling here?
Mm-hmm.
That it has to do with me rather than with the person.
Mm.
So obviously will take some time to master this. And until then, it's good that we have, I have somebody else at home that is present there where you can understand yourself as well, watch yourself, and I watch myself. And where you put the brake and it's like, okay, he's putting the brake here. So, you know what I mean? Because we got into the point, like what you are sharing, whatever you're sharing. And I was just, having my perception of what you're sharing already of you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you stop me and say, hey, you're making me wrong here. I'm like, what? How am I making you wrong here? It takes like that moment where you say something, you stop and you say, you're making me wrong, because we committed to each other, like we have to watch for each other. Like
Mhm.
if I'm making you wrong, you will let me know. If you are making me wrong, I will let you know. Then we stop. We put the break there. And if you cannot have access to that, say, hey, the way you're making me wrong is this. You said this, and this is what it is. Then I can have access. And yesterday I was having a little bit difficulty to have access to like how I'm making you wrong.
Mm.
Therefore, I was like asking you how, you know what I mean?
Mm.
That could have gone really hot.
Oh, yeah, that was the second one, yeah.
That could have gone really hot. And being South American, okay.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, I know.
and then we actually stop and we talk, and it was kind of like a nice flow there.
Mhm.
And then you could, share and share and share, and me just take myself away from it.
Hmm.
And the other thing that I appreciated from you, and I'm glad that you did the communication course, is that you are 100% in this communication,
Mhm.
and you want to have it, you want to make it work, our communication, your communication, my communication.
Hmm.
And it brings a lot of power here, because many people are dealing with all of these communication issues. And for me, and I would say many people out there, they have the idea of communication is just like, you have to say how you have to say it without restriction. And, and then they just become kind of like a projectile,
Vomit.
we can say vomit of words. and there is this point when people are just, frustrated, angered, resented, or whatever they're feeling, and the two parties are in the same, wall they cannot go through.
Mm.
And they get frustrated. That's when things become a little bit more not a little bit, but distant between two people there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, you build up like upsets, you build up resentments and start constraining your own and then you start to see the other person as like an enemy in some way.
yeah. And the thing is, even if you say, okay, I'm sorry, I yell at you. Yeah, I yell at you, I'm sorry. And there's the story, but it's not really resolved. It is just carry on. It is just being like cool down. And then anything that happens that is similar to that, it will basically, make it, inflame it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's build up and build up where the resentment comes.
Mm.
And when there is a buildup of resentment, that's when there is a distance in the relationship.
Mm.
And sometimes people, there's this discussion like, he doesn't understand me. He doesn't get what I'm trying to say. And the other party is like, she doesn't listen to me. She's just this and she's just that,
Mm-hmm.
And then there is no this relationship where actually you get to complete what actually was the issue. Bring forward and say, hey, my issue was this, and you did not listen to me. I wasn't trying, like, perhaps your thought was like, oh, yeah, you said it, oh, she's not supporting me, like I'm supporting her. But actually, I'm just saying, make sure that doesn't collide with anything. Because I don't want you to be like stressed at work,
Mm-hmm.
because that may take away your concentration at work. And you will end up in a stressful situation because you will be dealing with other people. And phone calls is not too many people, because breakdowns, people are just telling their stories and the frustrations, and you get them back to, to the point where they are aware and they resolve that. It takes time. And then that may consume the time, which it will separate you more and more and more of me.
Yeah.
And then that's what I'm saying. Just do things, yes, but make sure you measure what actually it takes, and look into like, how is this going to impact your relationship?
Mm-hmm.
What are your expectations? Will you be able to fulfill those expectations? Will you be able to maintain the relationship where it doesn't get distant, doesn't get affected. So it's just, in short words, be aware if you are 100% capable of seeing what you are capable, but just have a view.
That's a good catch there, because
Yeah.
see, that lands for me by default. I can very quickly in a conversation like that come to the conclusion, like, you're calling me incompetent. That's how. Now, there could be a communications course that you go to, and they say, in order to communicate to your husband, you need to say, I know that you're competent and I support you 100%. And my concern is that, we won't get to spend as much time together, which is what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're actually saying.
Mm-hmm.
And if you were to say it like that, front loaded with that, I know that you're competent and you're capable and you can do it, and I support you 100%. And I have a concern that we won't get to spend time together, and we won't be doing things together, and we won't be doing it together, and I'll be left out. That's what you're communicating to me. But you could do a communications course where they say, in order to communicate to your husband, you have to say it like this, right? But that, how's that going to work? You wouldn't even remember to do that, and you'd be like, this is weird and artificial. And what, is everybody going to have to do that course? But the great thing about the course we went through in the weekend was you didn't have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I could get what you were saying. I could get your experience of life behind it. Oh, you love to do things together. That's what you're actually saying. But I had to manage my own reactivation about all that stuff. Like, okay, she's saying I'm incompetent. She doesn't want to. She's not going to support me. She's not supporting me. Like, all of that was going on. So I had to take that out to be able to hear what you're actually saying. Look, I've spoken to a lot of people over the last week. I've been in communication all over the place. Mm-hmm. And people, have been saying things to me like, oh, women just want someone to listen to them. It's like, no kidding. Everyone knows that. You don't need to do a course to find that out. And the thing is that even though you do know that, it doesn't do any good.
Yeah.
Or like men are problem solvers, and they always want to solve a problem. So, it's like, whenever a woman is saying she just wants you to listen to her, she doesn't want you to solve the problem or anything. But one of the issues with that, like, again, that everyone knows that. It's like, this is all common knowledge, and yet people's communication still is like an issue.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things about that is that this problem solving is because there's like looking for like a problem, like for what's wrong. It's like, it's not only the problem. I want to be really careful here about how I say this, because I don't want to say like, oh, men's minds are like this, because everybody's a unique individual and we're all human beings, and there's like a common, like, there's no male and female communication distinguished in the communication access to power. Mm-hmm. And there's no need to distinguish that, because communication is fundamental to being a human being. Mm-hmm. But if you have a look at it from this idea of like problem solving and looking for something to fix, it's like you're looking for something to fix something that's wrong. And, if I come to the conclusion that, oh, she's not supporting me, immediately my mind starts going on to how am I going to fix that? And I'm not listening to you anymore. Mm-hmm. I'm now thinking about like, oh, okay, here's a problem that she's not supporting me. Or my wife thinks that I'm incompetent. She's questioning my competence. That's an issue. How am I going to fix that? So mm-hmm. immediately I've like come to this conclusion about what he's saying. Stop listening to you. I've started thinking about, how to deal with this other thing, which is not even what you're saying. And then it's no wonder there's so much misunderstanding and miscommunication, Mm-hmm. Then I'll get upset about that. And then you'll be frustrated because you're trying to say something to me and I didn't hear what you were saying. And now I'm upset about something that you didn't say. And that happened to us at least twice yesterday, and we interrupted it because that happened again for you when I was sharing about like the podcast that I was listening to, mm-hmm. the guy talking about terrain theory. And, I said, I wish that I had known about this 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. And then you took a left turn on that and started making me wrong about it. And I was like, oh man, you're not even listening to what I was actually saying. Now you're upset about something that I didn't even say.
Right.
And we caught it because you had, I enrolled you in telling me like when you experienced me making you wrong, and then you did the same thing to me. You gave me permission to say in the conversation, "Hey, you're making me wrong." But I'll tell you what, even in that conversation when we were there, my brain was going like, "Oh man, I don't even want to say that because it's going to make it worse." Like if I say, "Hey, you're actually making me wrong," this is going to blow up even more. But I did say it, and then you were just really great about it. And you're like, "Okay, how am I making you wrong?" And you were really committed to seeing that. Yeah, and that was awesome.
I wanted to understand, because when you say that, like, okay, how am I? And that's the thing, like pausing and thinking about it, because making you wrong is kind of like icky. Because I feel that it's icky for me when you make me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, okay, he must be feeling icky then if I'm making me wrong.
Mm.
And I don't want that. And then also at the same time, the brain is computing, is like, okay, so what is in there for you that is causing this? So the brain is, I don't know how the brain works, but it's just like, at the same time, it's just like trying to get information how, and the other one's like, what is in there for me? I need to see. I think that is very powerful in, many relationships can get this tool and get to have this communication where people are listened, and like, this event that I'm creating, gotten. And the other thing was when you said, I want you to recreate me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not getting recreated here. I'm just like, no, it's the third thing I need to recreate. What did you say? So it's 3 different things that is running at the same time, or what's running at the same time for me. Recreating, making it wrong, and what is in there for me to be aware.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like, when you're not used to it,
Mm-hmm.
it kind of like you tumble, and you tumble. And it's great that you have that patience and you waited, you just waited for me to express myself and catch myself and be self-aware. And then from there, things just become a bit like when I recreated you and I just listened to you, and then you were able to express yourself, I was like, okay. And then it was sorted, I guess. Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah, I just said, yeah, because what was your, like, if you have a look at the recreation, you were recreating me, so you were like just getting what I was saying without adding anything to it, and then getting like my experience behind that. What did you see about that?
You experience a lot. You are more into this thing that this person was speaking, and you are kind of like agreeing with that person, and it could have make a difference for you if you knew that 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It could have make a difference for you if you could have followed that, like how everything, the structure is followed, like this person, the podcast was explaining, like this is what happens, and whatever you were sharing there. So it's more about like being in action to what the person is, with the information that the person is giving. Is that correct to say?
Well, it's like the experience of life behind it. There's an experience.
Yeah.
So this is what happened to me when you recreated me.
Mm-hmm.
My experience was I was enthusiastic. Yeah, like I was excited about what this guy had been saying and what I discovered there. And that's why I was sharing it with you, because I was like really excited about it.
Mm.
And I was like, hey, this could have, like, because you see, for me, I have like to measure it against my experience 10 years ago and then having this knowledge now, I'm like, do you know how awesome this is and what a difference this will make for people? Because the experience I went through 10 years ago of not understanding the terrain theory and how it all fits together and what the scientific kind of framework of it is, I'm like, man, this is like a game changer. Yeah, it's amazing. Because the way this guy's describing it, so it was a podcast with Diary of a CEO. And thanks for tuning in, Luana and Swanee Jules and Tim Marwick. We'll get to your questions in a second. Thanks for throwing them in there. He worked at a life insurance company, a big life insurance company. And he made these points about it. He said, in the 2008 global financial crisis, no life insurance companies went under. Their business, fundamentals financially are rock solid. And also, no valid death claim in the US has ever not been paid out. So no company has ever gone insolvent and unable to pay life insurances. What this means is that they understand the risk involved in these life insurance policies to like a phenomenal degree. So they can they can accurately predict when people will die because they know what the lifetime. So they understand their customer acquisition cost, and they also understand their customer lifetime value.
Yeah.
The customer lifetime value for them is they know what the annuity or whatever it is, the insurance premium is. So in order for them to understand their customer lifetime value, they have to be able to project how long the person will live, because the person's customer lifetime ends when the person dies. And they have like these super high level PhD kind of level people there with spreadsheets working on the stuff. They can tell when people are going to die. And his point he's making is part of the business fundamental of the whole thing is they can understand when people are going to die because the current medical system we're in is actually killing people. And it's killing them in predictable ways. And after working there for so long, he was like, I could actually save these people's lives, not save their lives because everyone's going to die. But this person, I could add 10 years to this person's life because I'm looking at the spreadsheet and I know that if they do this thing, then what's going to happen, they would see someone would be put on some medical treatment and then they would adjust the spreadsheet. And like for example, he said, when people were put on this particular drug, we know that it fixes this variable, but then it causes deterioration of their joints. So we would schedule a joint.
Yeah.
I just wondering what you're doing. We'll schedule a joint replacement for them within 6 years out. That's what they would do. They would see the person being put on the drug and they would schedule a joint replacement for them 6 years out because they know it's going to happen. And there's like a whole suite of things like that. And where he starts from is this. He says, if you have a tree and it has a leaf that's rotting on it, and you bring a good arborist in there, he's not going to treat the leaf. He's going to do a core soil sample, and then he's going to go, you're missing nitrogen in your soil. You put nitrogen on the soil, and then that fixes the leaf. And he says, but we don't treat the human body like that. What we do is we focus in on the rotting leaf or whatever, and then just try to like pump chemicals and things into it, to make it better without addressing the cause of it. Now, I always hear people say, oh, modern medicine addresses the symptoms, but it doesn't address the causes. But this is why I got so excited about it, because on the one hand, you have the modern medical kind of idea with the pharmaceuticals and everything, and it has a theoretical structure that explains it. Whereas this other terrain theory and all that kind of stuff, it's been like a whole bunch of like superstitious witchcraft like kind of cures and different things. And it was 10 years ago incredibly confusing for me to try to wade my way through that. The medical system was very clear. They're like, this is the ailment and here's the treatment and this is the thing, right? Whereas you go outside that and then you ask 10 different people about it and they'll tell you 10 different things. And there'll be people who have been like, I beat this thing and this is how I did it. And they'll tell you something completely different from someone else. And they can't tell you why that works. They can't tell you how that worked. It's just like, it just sounded like, it was impossible for me to wade my way through that. But listening to this guy talking, like one of his main things is about like genetic mutations, five very common genetic mutations among humans that give them like broken methylation pathways, which leads them to have deficiencies in those particular things. And different people will have different deficiencies because they'll have different genetic mutations, which mean that methylation pathway for that particular nutrient is damaged. So that means that some person can get an ailment and they can solve it by taking something which addresses the nutritional deficiency. But that same treatment's not going to work for someone else if they didn't have that same genetic mutation. Anyway, he, after being there, he has an undergraduate degree in biology and a PhD in human biology. And he worked there for 20 years as an actuary, working these spreadsheets. And he said that in the end, he just couldn't do it anymore because, you know, in the beginning, it was like that they were just numbers in a spreadsheet. But at a certain point, he got present to that these are people in their lives because he's read their medical histories and see the partner, you know, one person dies, the next partner goes on antidepressants and then he was just like, it was like I was sitting behind a thick glass wall watching blind people walk into traffic.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, I could tell this person, if I could pick up the phone and tell this person, I could tell them exactly what will address this problem. And it's not pouring chemicals on the symptom. It's like this person, you know, can't metabolize B12. They need to take methylated cobalamin.
Mm.
And so, yeah, I got super excited about that. I was like, this is awesome. But, you know, this guy's now a major target because that's like he's threatening the financial fundamentals of the life insurance industry. Because if people understood that, these guys wouldn't be able to predict when they're going to die to the degree of accuracy that they can, which is what their business is based on. So their business is based on having this knowledge and making sure that no one else does. Yeah.
That's exactly the Ayurvedic medicine that goes into the root cause of the issue.
Yeah.
And prevent where it could get, you know.
Mm-hmm. So,
okay, let's go and answer
some questions.
Yes.
Okay, let's go to Tim's question first.
Okay.
Can you explain more about the concept of recreating someone? So that, you know, what happened there was like, that was an example of it, you know, like it was like, see, the experience that was behind that was enthusiasm. Like I was like super enthusiastic about that. Like this is like, and that was what I was sharing, you know, and then there was the words that I was saying, which is kind of like, you know, information, the words that I'm saying. And then, you know, in that interaction when we had it last night, I was sharing that, and then you heard the words I was saying, and then you made some conclusion about it, and then you started to make me wrong about something because you didn't recreate me, which means that recreating.
Explain.
Sure. So getting the communication, the words that are being said without adding anything to it. And without adding anything to it or bringing nothing to it means not like making a conclusion about what it means or judging it or assessing it or, you know, reacting to it in any way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Having an opinion about it. This means that she doesn't support me. This means she doesn't want me to do it. Like all those kind of things are just for a human being all automatically arise.
Yeah.
I agree with this. I disagree with that.
I don't like that. And like, he's just going to leave me to deal with all of this while he's just in his own world. Like, I'm not with this. Whatever.
Yeah. So in that example, you had a concern about that, and then you added that to what I was saying. And then those kind of things, when you add that in, this is what causes this like spiral downwards because, you know, you're like, oh, he's going to get involved in this and he's going to be too busy with it and he's just going to leave me to do all the stuff, right? And then, you know, you add that to it and then you start speaking into that. And then where I am, I start hearing, she's not supporting me. She doesn't think I'm competent because I didn't get recreated. It wasn't like, okay, this is what you're saying. And, you know, like the next level of recreation is like the experience behind it. Well, it sounds like you're really excited about doing it. You know, that would be recreating it.
Good example.
Yeah. So when I was recreating you, I had to put aside my conclusions like, okay, you're not supporting me. You don't want me to do it. Like I took a left turn and, you know, then there's all these further conclusions that like, hey, you know, like I supported you in doing this course that you wanted to do. And I'm like all about it and up and underneath it and doing, you know, moving things around to support it and everything. And then, you know, I start to be like resentful, like, hey, how come I'm doing this? And you're like, oh, you know, you can't do this course, you know? So that's the left turn. So then I caught myself doing that. And I was like, okay, I'm adding all of this to your communication. Let me just recreate you. Okay, so what you're saying is, you know, and then, you know, that's kind of like, I mean, we've done like other courses in communication where it's like empathic listening, right? The recreation is different from empathic listening. Empathic listening is where you say what the person said, but you're also still thinking whatever you're thinking, you know, about it. Whereas bringing nothing to the communication is distinguishing your own conclusions about it and adding nothing to it.
In the empathic communication, you said what the other person said, and also you express how you're feeling. Like when you said, example, when you say you're going to do this, what is the course?
Team management, leadership.
Team
program.
management for 1 year. What was the name? Okay. When you say that I feel that I am going to be on my own managing the whole thing, and I will be dealing with a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's the empathic communication. Or let's say when you
Well, hang on, that you would say that to me.
That's the empathic communication. Yes. Is what the other person is saying. Like, for example, when you yell at me, an example, I feel disrespected.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? That's the
Yeah.
empathic communication, because you letting the other person know your feelings about
Right.
that. Okay. And the recreation said, okay, it sounds that it's very important for you to do what is the course about?
Team management
and
leadership
program for a year. That's it. It ends there.
What, recreation?
Yeah.
Well, see, the thing is, it won't end there. Because what I've discovered from recreating people and being recreated is that the conversation doesn't end there. It goes.
No, from my part. So I say that, and then
Oh, yeah.
and then whatever continues from your part, you will continue to say whatever, and then I recreate you again, and then until you are basically like,
yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then at that point, there's no difference between us. Like there's actual communication.
It's like a letting the baby burp. Keep burping. Okay, you done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but the thing is that at the bottom of that, what happens is there's actual communication, like communion. Like when we had that conversation and then you started saying all that stuff, and then I was like, oh man, and then I was like, hang on, let me recreate you. So I just started recreating what you're saying. Sometimes that can look like saying what you said to me, or not. Just like getting the communication that you just communicated and adding nothing to it. Like you're like, oh, well, why don't you just tell me? Let me enroll you in doing the team management and leadership program, because we haven't finished that conversation to the point where it's like, yeah, I'm going to do it, right? So you tell me, like, what are your thoughts about me doing the team management and leadership program?
I think there's something that it's for you.
Okay.
Like you are good of commanding people. And I think you will learn a lot about team management, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the good side.
Okay. And so you have some concerns about it as well?
Yeah.
Okay. What are your concerns about it?
It's more about the logistics.
Okay.
Yeah. It's more about the logistics. Like for me, about this, okay, the logistic, all right, what does it take? How long will it take? It's like how many days per week you will be involved. Will there be contradict your work hours? And then how am I meant to be fulfilling all of these gaps that you normally do in the household, in a relationship? And then will that be taken away? And then who's going to fulfill that? And they're like, okay. And then we end up talking. You're going on Saturday. You make sure you have your whatever details they're going to give it to you,
Mhm.
and then work it out, and then discuss that,
Mm.
how am I going to support you, and what does it require from me to support you,
Mhm.
and also and to what level I can support you. It's looking ahead, what do we have, and then how do we fulfill that. That's how I see it.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't mean I'm stopping, simply and saying we need to be aware of the things, what is required, and then this is a teamwork for me.
Mhm.
Teamwork, how much I carry that is okay for me to carry
Mm.
without getting overwhelmed and not getting into your toes,
Okay.
and then how much will you be taking away that you're not aware that what you're taking away, and then we go collide. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this is how I see things.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my brain. That is called farsightedness.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So so I hear that you're concerned about the potential impact and what it will look like with the logistics, how much time, the impact on our relationship, on the household. Mhm.
Yeah, that's it. You
Okay.
see, nothing to it.
Mm.
Don't add anything to it. It's just me looking ahead.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
Look, I acknowledge your farsightedness and your attention, your commitment to having our household work
Oh yeah,
and our relationship work.
I like fun. I don't
Okay.
like the stress.
Yeah.
I don't like overwhelm. I
Uh-huh.
like fun
Yeah, okay.
and connection.
Yeah.
So this is what I'm committed to.
Mm.
And then in my commitment, I do go there. I will be there committed to keep pushing you.
Mhm.
And that's me. You saw me. I keep pushing you. Keep
Yeah.
going. Keep going. You need this. You need that.
Mhm.
I'm just like the what do you call this one? You on the court. I'm just the
Coach,
no, yeah, maybe I'm the court. No,
cheerleader.
the cheerleader. No, that's me. Like
Yeah.
kick the ball that way. No, you're not getting it that way. You know what I mean? And that is my personality.
Mhm.
I always like to people like keep doing the things that you're doing. Just look at it in this way, or maybe do this way. And then that could be understood. Oh, you controlling, like
Mhm.
that's not being controlling. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just letting you know
Mhm.
that there's few things could be done. Perhaps take it. You
Mhm.
just see for yourself what you can do.
Mm.
But what I see with my experience and farsightedness, what I'm observing out there,
Mhm.
I have a different view. Your view is completely different because you're on the court.
Mhm.
My view is different because I'm looking that you are in the court and what else is happening there.
Mm.
So that's me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got that.
Yeah.
And so one other thing about what you're saying there, at the beginning, you said that you think that the team management and leadership program really is like a good match for me.
You like to command people. And I like that.
Okay.
And so like, yeah, that would be for your nature, it's for your nature. It would be awesome.
Mm.
And at the same, I think I convey to you, I want to do things together,
Mhm.
especially when it comes to the Vishnu Prema Palace. Like, hey, this is something that I already farsighted it like long before
Mhm.
I met you.
Mhm.
This is what I want to develop. And then,
Mm.
but I'm doing something else at the moment
Mhm.
that is creating me to who I want to be
Mhm.
in order for me to do this.
Mm.
And then, like developing the muscles that I don't have.
Mhm.
And then with what I have, then we can, we can fulfill that.
Mm.
And it's even greater when you do it with your partner, with your husband. That could be for anyone, right? Doing things. Why I see things that way is because it's not only self-development for in an individual base, it's a development as a interconnectedness between two people married. And in that, you're developing a lot of things. And this afternoon, I mentioned to you when you came to me, and I think you say you were grateful. in the bathroom,
Mhm.
I said to you, working together, not because we only husband and wife, any person, like for example, me and my introduction leaders program body, I have to see where she is not doing well. And I say, hey, do this, do this, do this, and look into this. You know, I'm encouraging her, empowering her.
Mm.
And it's up to her if she wants to keep it up, but I will be like, keep doing it, you know, because I want her to develop that muscle in the area that she's not having that muscle develop. I want her to feel like, you know, oh my God, I got this. And I did, you know, I discovered it and I'm having like this happiness within myself because I'm doing it, you know, and I feel like you're so happy. And I love that you're happy. And so there is the muscle that we develop in the working together. And as a couple, not only will it strengthen our relationship of how we're going to have breakdowns in the project and how we do it. You know, one we may tripped over and then the other one will lift you up. It's like, we can do this, you know? If we need some time to sort it out, whatever, it's like we do it. So we developing this like interaction over how much we care for each other and how much is our commitment. And that also we develop in the adventure of it, the memories of it, the experience of it. And life is about experience. Nothing else. It's all experience. And what gives you experience is by actually moving into these different breakdowns and breakthroughs and all the things that we discover within each other, with each other, and the joy and what it took to be here, to, you know, to come to the end. When we look back, we're like, oh my gosh, you know, I appreciate the things that you've done. I feel so proud of you. I feel like gotten. I feel like you really really care about me. You really are committed to me. You know what I mean? So that is the experience for me. For females, it's about experience. For every person, I think it's all about experience because life is about experience. And I like adventure. I really love adventure.
Okay.
And that is really important to me. Without adventure, that's what I'm saying. Okay, it appears we're going to go this way. I will have my own experience with other people, which I want to have experience with other people. But that is not my life. With my introduction leaders program body, we have an experience of working together. And it's great. But this is going to be, we may be in life together, but the experience completely different between her and me. The experience between you and another person is a different experience. And then are we having experience between two people going this way? Yes, we'll have our own experience, but it's not experience that is going to interconnect us. It's going to make us this way.
Okay.
So then for me, the life that I look, my life that I look in the far-sighted way, it's like, this is what I want to live. This is what I want to go through. Because I don't want to, like, I wish I could have said this. I wish I could have, like, you know what? Nah, I'm not into that. It's like, we're doing it, and we're getting it. You know what I mean? So that's my way of seeing things in the world.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got that. Okay, so that was an example of recreation. It's nothing like any of the examples you get in any of the courses, because like the examples and the way that they'll go through is like directly recreating people's communication, like by speaking it. But I didn't really say much there at all. But I was recreating you the whole time. And by recreating your communication, what that allowed for, well, you tell me, like, what was your experience of communicating with me while I was doing that?
Space. I
Yeah.
have that space for me to say what I need to say
Mhm.
without being interrupted, without being like, but why, but why, like becoming like defensive
Mhm.
or dominating or justifying, what you're
Mhm.
trying to do.
Mhm.
And that gives me the freedom to express myself.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So while you were creating that, in
Mhm.
order to recreate you, I had to take out a lot of like everything here. There was not so much for me about what you were saying, but there were more things like, this is going on for a really long time. This doesn't look like any of the recreation exercises, the way that they demonstrate or coach people in the distinction recreation, which is where, they'll have you say a simple sentence and then have the other person recreate it, right?
Mhm,
Like, so I'm like, okay, this is not like, doesn't look anything like that. So I had to get rid of that.
mhm,
People are going to be bored. Are people still listening? Are people like, okay, I have to put all of that aside.
Yeah, the mind is just
Like everything, and
Mhm.
just recreate what you're saying,
Mm.
recreate your communication, not just what you're saying, because the other thing so recreation is on 3 levels.
Mhm.
There's what's being said,
Mhm.
and then there's the experience behind that, the
Mhm.
experience. And then deeper than that is what you're committed to, what your
Mhm.
commitment is.
Mhm.
And so all of that was showing up there,
Mhm.
and then there's like a sense of really, as you put it, like being able to express yourself,
Mhm.
like a space to express yourself.
Mhm.
And then over here, there's the experience of seeing you,
Mhm.
like your farsightedness. Like, even though so last night in recreating you, I got to, that you want us to be doing things together. I wasn't present to that, the way that you perceive that situation. So for me, in that moment, I'm like, this is an access to being able to create this alternative to the World Economic Forum at a global level.
Mhm.
It's really going to take something. It's not a guaranteed thing. You sign up for the course and it's done. Like, it's a monumental, epic, legendary thing. And like, this thing could potentially do it. And if I like really, put it in, it can happen. So that's where I'm looking from.
Mhm.
You're there with me, looking at me, and then the way you're looking at me and the future of all of that is you're looking into like the logistics and what the impacts and everything are going to be like. Because as I see you now and recreating you in your communication, that's how you roll.
Yeah.
Yeah. So none of that was visible to me last night. I was just like, she's just like harshing my vibe, Like, and so then by like bringing nothing to that, distinguishing that and taking that out and recreating what you were saying last night, I got to, okay, you want us to do things together and you don't want to be left out. And now I'm recreating you about the same thing again, like I see it at another level. And then also, like, what comes out is that, like, you're committed to having fun, creating memories and experiences together. And that's really important to you. That's what you want to do.
I can do those things without you. I don't know if it's gonna be fun for you, but anyways, let me be free. I don't know how free I'm gonna be, but anyways, I'm joking.
Yeah, I got that.
Yeah, so yeah, I think that is the important part when people start communicating,
Mhm.
and initially it's gonna be kind of like struggle, like, because like you say, the words, the machinery is going, making a lot of noise in your head, which can interrupt the normal communication.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay,
Anyways.
let's go to these two here because
Okay.
they're nice, good questions. We'll go to this guy, Kaloyan Bozilov
Mhm.
from Bulgaria.
Yes.
How has this comment made you feel? You like to command people. I get that from time to time, and I'm not sure how I am feeling about it because it is true. I think that's a question to me because you said it twice. You said it at the beginning of your conversation of that interaction, and then you said it again when we revisited it at the end. When I said you see this program as a real match for me, and you're like, yeah, because you like to command people. And for you, there's like, that's just completely flat. There's no.
For me, it's natural. In case you haven't noticed that, I command people.
Mhm.
It's like, For example, Isabella, I want you to pick up the washing. Isabella, I want you to do this one. I'm going to this one. I'm going to do this one. You know what I mean? It's like direct command.
Mhm.
And like in the military system, in the military, you know, the high rank people, they already know what actually is happening. They already have the idea there. They have some sort of like different ability than anybody else does. And the people that are training themselves, they're training themselves to be that way because the level is completely different. You see things in a different way that people cannot see it. For you, it's natural that. And you have different ability in that. And it will be suited for you to do that, you know? And it's nothing wrong. People can see it in a negative way. Oh, it's just bossing about, you know. People can think like they're bossing about, or they're, you know, they're dominating me. It's like, it's not, could be understood as domination, could be understood as like, you know, dominating or controlling there. But it's, if you take yourself out of this, it's like the person have a different vision that you don't have access yet. And because you come in, like you say, you know, you come in with this already perspective of the person, is you're not listening what actually the person is trying to contribute you. I mean, this person contribute the other person. As a commander, you have a high level of by nature to see things. Even for farsighted, I can see you are a farsighted person too. Other people don't have that farsightedness. And if we come to this communication thing, you know, you are in here and I am in here, but my perception of you will block me to actually understand you. How you're trying to contribute to me. I will see you as like controlling, dominating, but that's not the point. You are a high-level trained person, highly skilled person, but I am not. My self-confidence is the thing that is having interfering for who you are as a person, because you already are that person, confident, developed, skilled, and all of that. Do you understand, or am I getting a bit?
No, I get what you're saying.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just gathering, you know, here's where I'm thinking, here's where I'm listening from.
Okay.
If you have a look at the landmark forum leader in the forum, they're the most highly trained person in the room. And they're leading the entire thing. And I've been in a number of forums over the last 10 years and watched them in action. And I remember my first landmark forum that I was in 2014, and I just looked at the landmark forum leader dealing with 120 different people who, you know, had just walked in there on the Friday morning. And what got caused with them in 3.5 days. And I was just like, how do they train these people? Like, I have no idea where this guy is, like, what he's thinking and what he's like, how he's able to do this. So it's kind of like the, you know, the resistance to that, you know, the kind of like the occurring of it as being like bossy and dominating and that kind of thing. Like from the distinctions of the communication access to power, that doesn't live in the listening of the other person.
Exactly.
That actually lives in the listening of the commander.
Okay.
Yeah. So the person who's like, oh, you know, you're bossy and dominating and like it's like you're controlling, that occurring for that person doesn't live in their listening. It actually lives undistinguished in the listening of the commander. And so this is, you know, like the dark side of this is like when you have that nature and you express it with people, if you're not responsible for what's in your listening about them, it lands that way with them.
I got that. Yeah. I can see it. Yeah.
And so my way of dealing with that is to try to avoid it. Because, you know, I have these experiences in my past where I've been commanding and like fully express that side of my nature. And then, you know, have had people have that experience of it and then have been like, well, this sucks. You know, people are like, you know, you're dominating and like bossy and controlling and all that kind of stuff. So then it like, so he's asking, how does this comment make you feel? You like to command people. I did have a reaction to that when you said that to me twice. And part of the reaction to that is, what are people going to think about that? They're going to think like, oh, you know, you're like this and that. And then my automatic response to that is to try to like pretend not to be that way. You know, like suppress rather than distinguish what it is in my communication and my listening of people that has it land that way for them. It's like to try to suppress and pretend that I'm not actually a commander.
I see it in a very positive way. One of the things, like, I guess it has two ways, depending how what vision you put it into that. For me, the vision that I'm coming for the commanders is that, let's have an example, the military system. You know what the commanders are?
Mm-hmm.
They're highly trained people. And the people that are under the commanders are highly trained people. They don't get like crying about if the commander says, you know, you go and do this, you know, like, yes,
Mhm.
boss. And then they you know, they share because they're working with the very highly trained people. The only difference is that you are the commander. Everybody else is a commander, but you the main person responsible for everybody else.
Mhm.
So you are 100% responsible. So your job is to get things done. Your job is to have things like a high level done. I see, like, it's, for me, in my view, they're like, these people are incredible. That, I don't know why, but I have like this, they have this nature for them that is their confidence, their ability to do things in the extreme. When they're in extreme ways, they're just like right there, like a rock standing there. And that's what I see, and that's what the positive way.
Mm-hmm.
Some people see it in a negative way because they are not in the level of that person, as this person, highly trained. Because what is interfering is, first, they don't have like the confidence. Two, they are in emotional state of being, and that will create a lot of conflict.
You're talking about the commander or
the other one? Like, for example, me. I would put my example as a me. Yeah. So if I see highly trained people, I will admire them, but I'm not highly trained as for me to be in the level to understand them. And I can, if I use you as an example,
Mm-hmm.
I would be like, this dude is just like, whatever circumstances, difficulties, he will go right there, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Is admirable, but I'm not in the same level as you to go head to head with you. The only thing I can do is to follow you, you know, like follow you. Because that is my position where I am right now. But you are in a different level. And I love that.
Yeah. Even so, like, it's kind of like, not kind of like, but you know, like the interaction last night. I mean, I could respond to that by just saying, this is what we're going to do, you know, and we're going to do this. If I'm not in your listening, and if I don't recreate you, then that's just going to occur for you as me just like bossing you around and disregarding you and not listening to you and not understanding you and just telling you what to do. And that won't last for very long. You know, like in a crisis situation, I could, you know, act that way. But like on an ongoing basis, if I just disregarded you in that way, then, you know, it would be like dominating, controlling, forceful, you know, it would land for you like that. Yeah.
That is the thing, you know, like in a crisis situation, for example, in my job, in a acute care, a crisis situation, nobody comes like, oh, can you please do this? Oh, it's
Yeah.
like, do now, this one, that one. We are in a crisis situation.
Yeah.
And you are really good in a crisis situation. Really good.
Yeah, there's no recreating people in that situation. It's just like life or death kind of thing.
Yeah.
That was my conclusion about myself and my commander nature. I was like, I'm good in an emergency. Like when there's like an absolute crisis situation, no one knows what to do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good in that situation. But then once the situation kind of gets stabilized and normalized, that way of being is disruptive to the situation. So that was my conclusion about my commander nature. And then I was like, okay, well, this is just the way I am and it's not going to work. I mean, what I'm seeing now is that with recreating people, like really, really getting them and seeing them and understanding what their experience is, what they're committed to. And then not only that, but having them have the space, experience the space to fully express themselves and be gotten changes the dynamic completely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so back to the Landmark Forum leader, the Landmark Forum leader is able to do that with 120, 200 random people in 3 days because of recreation.
Mm-hmm.
So what the Landmark Forum leader was doing in the Landmark Forum, where I was like, what is this person doing and how are they doing it, is bringing nothing to the communication of the participants and recreating them is the way.
Yeah, master side. Okay.
Yeah, let's go. Let's take a few of these comments from Bima Karma. We'll get to Swanee Jules' comment next, hey?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Bima Karma says, if we study into the underpinnings of any of these modern disciplines and sciences, they're quickly revealed to be fraudulent and antithetical to their espoused aim. Thank you. Brilliant insights, examples, and quotations from experienced professionals and scholars. Okay, we'll go to Swanee Jules' question, and then we'll get to Alice's question.
Okay.
Okay, Swanee Jules says, Hare Krishna, big question. What are we supposed to do with the infrastructure that we're used to at any ISKCON temple? No longer is there any trust in sannyasis, and they are a big part of gatherings.
That's That's the area where I'm having a discovery about that.
You say more about that?
Because here she's talking about no longer is there any trust in sannyasis.
Mm-hmm.
And they are a big part of the gatherings. It's like, I think trust is it's a big thing in any relationship. It's fundamental for any relationship. And now some people right now, they're starting to wake up to who you actually trust into,
Mm-hmm.
and being responsible of having your trust given to someone that is actually, ¿cómo se llama esto?
En español?
Deserving.
Merecedor.
Yeah, they deserve, because they are, they portray, they exude trust with people. And in this situation, I think people has to be extremely responsible of withdrawing that trust. Like, remember somebody said trust with verification.
Mm-hmm.
Then what will happen? It will teach these people to observe themselves, to look within themselves. What they're doing is not actually giving trust to people, because people are withdrawing. So it will be a matter of time where people start. Sorry, my head's going away.
Mm-hmm.
I'm having a good stretch here. Let's put it this way: people are waking up.
Mm-hmm.
Because innocence is one thing, being full is another thing.
Mm-hmm.
And being disrespected in the way the person who we meant to be worshiping is not actually trustworthy. And these people the sannyasis need to bring themselves up to a position where they have to be trustworthy And every action they do, every movement they do, every word they talk is actually in what do you call this one? In parallel to their lives and what they're giving to people.
Yeah, this relates to what Bhima Karma was saying.
Mm-hmm.
If we study the underpinnings of any of these modern disciplines and sciences, they are quickly revealed to be fraudulent and antithetical to their espoused aim. So one of the things that I see is happening is there's a replacement, there's a shifting of the basis of ISKCON onto these things. Like the most obvious one is vaccine testimonials.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time I pointed that out, it's like we have no business doing this.
Yeah, totally.
Now, I didn't make the case that, I didn't make my strong case on that. This is bogus. I did make these points. There's no way it could be known to be safe and effective. There's simply no theoretical reality to that. There's no longitudinal studies. There's just no way that such a claim could be made scientifically. It's a lie.
Mm-hmm.
The next level, of course, it's a conspiracy to depopulate the world. But anyway, we don't need to go there.
Mm-hmm.
Simply, my point was this: we have no business making that, any more than our business is to tell people on ISKCON News to wear a car seatbelt,
Mm-hmm.
which is known to be, widely accepted as, you could have a conspiracy theory about those two, but, seatbelts save lives, but that's just not the business that we're in.
Mm-hmm.
And so what's happened here is that ISKCON, rather than staying based on the message of the Bhagavat, and Dehino Sminyata Dehe Komanam Yovanam Jara Tata Dehantara Praptir Diras Tatanamuyate, staying in the Shastra, teaching people about the distinction between the body and the soul, the Jiva, the Paramatma, Vishnu, Krishna, etc. Now they're basing themselves on top of this other ultimately fraudulent system.
Mm-hmm.
And so the institution has linked itself to this.
Sadly. Very, very sadly.
It's linking itself to this.
Mm.
Someone posted me as something from ISKCON News, maybe about Earth Day, and it said 54 years of Earth Day. I haven't read the article, but their comment was from then to now, from leaders to followers. Basically, we take the UN agenda, whatever their latest propaganda is, climate change, Earth Day, whatever, and then add a Krishna conscious kind of like icing on top of it. So what are we supposed to do? I think this is saying, what are we supposed to do without the infrastructure that we're used to at an ISKCON temple? It's kind of like, I keep saying it's kind of like, I'm picking that up. It's kind of
okay.
like, what are we supposed to do without the infrastructure that we're used to at any ISKCON temple? Well, what do we do without it? We've created kirtan festivals, created kind of alternatives. One of the thinking that I've had around that is like, if they're going to go along with the agenda, and if they bring out some new measure that's not a lot that I'm not aligned with, I'd like to have something that's an alternative for people. I put my energy into creating that rather than into like what happened in the COVID thing. There was like people who had given decades of their lives, had given their life savings to open preaching centers, and on the order of the government, they just turned against them. So I'm not investing in that anymore. And this has led to a lot of this thinking for me about disagreement and upset and communication. Look, I can disagree. I don't trust that they will act in a way that I'm aligned with in the future. And I'm not upset about that. That is what it is. And, there's the opportunity and the possibility to be in full communication, but it doesn't mean that I trust them to act. And being in communication with them, people are in all kinds of different spaces, For all I know, some of them may be reptilian shapeshifters. And I say that slightly tongue in cheek. There may be people who are. And most people are acting according to what makes sense to them. And it's very easy to manipulate large numbers of human beings by controlling the information environment to make something make sense to them. And that's what was done during COVID. Even though a lot of it didn't make sense, you still kind of went along with it because it was what everyone else was doing. And then they pumped out a whole lot of propaganda, sense-making stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they banned anyone who pointed at holes in the narrative or who, put out a counter message.
Mm-hmm.
So what to do without the infrastructure? It's like build something in parallel, do something else, find like-minded people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that is the thing that is going to take away the attention, the power that is given to them, because the way they are and where they are right now is because people continually keep pouring power to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's about building the alternative, which is and like what to speak of ISKCON, the World Economic Forum needs an alternative.
Oh, yeah.
Because ISKCON basically has joined the World Economic Forum. I was like, we were supposed to be the alternative to that.
Mm.
We're not supposed to be promoting smart cities and everything they're doing. We're supposed to be promoting decentralization, theism rather than atheism, not transhumanism, not technology, but yeah. So we need to build the alternative.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This one's from Alice. This one's to you. Dana, how do you feel when you hear your husband say women like to be raped and that men shouldn't carry a girl's handbag but be fierce and forceful? Like, honestly, how do you feel when you hear that?
Honestly, yeah.
I just want to point out one thing here.
Yeah. Okay.
She has a quote here from me, which is not what I said.
Yeah.
I mean, this is an example of adding something to what's been said.
Mm-hmm.
Like what I said was Prabhupada said, and it's not that quote. Prabhupada's actual quote from the Bhagavatam, the 5th canto, says, although it may be illegal, it is a fact that a woman likes a man who is very expert at rape. When I said it on Namras's podcast, I misquoted it and I said, it is a fact that a woman loves a man who is expert at rape. So rather than saying very expert at rape, I said expert at rape. And rather than saying likes a man, I said loves a man. But I didn't say women like being raped.
Misquotation.
Not only that, hang on,
yeah, sure,
before you get to it, I just want to address this. Mm-hmm. This is the quote that it gets turned into no matter how many times you say it. It gets turned into women like being raped. It's not what it says. It's not what I said. It says, although it may be illegal, it is a fact that a woman likes a man who is very expert at rape. It doesn't say that women like being raped. And I didn't say that.
There is a different sentence.
But let's address the thing that I did say.
Yeah.
Is that okay? Yeah, so Dana, so let's change the question to the accurate quote. Dana, how do you feel when you hear your husband say, it is a fact that a woman likes a man who's very expert at rape and that men shouldn't carry a girl's handbag but be fierce and forceful? Like, honestly, how do you feel when you hear that?
I think it sounds like a cartoon.
A cartoon?
A cartoon.
Like a cut, yeah.
I just see a cartoon thing. And the first thing, I don't think you like that. I don't see you personally, not because I'm your wife. I'm saying that it's because I observe your life being protective of women, very protective of me. And when I mean protect, it can be misinterpreted in this situation. Mm-hmm. Means that you don't want a woman to be uncareful, left alone, looking after the children, being treated like they were, what do you call this one? Like anything, like a piece of object. And that's the one thing. And the other thing is you are talking about expertise. Unfortunately, those things just become misinterpreted, another person misinterpreted, misquoting, and they come back to you as you are some sort of like a monster here. I was just like, not at all, because I'm against all of those things, and I don't think I will allow my husband to go into this world of abusing women, even by the words he said. What else can I touch that? When you talk about expertise, what I see you doing here is you want to create yourself as someone that can understand the need of the person. Example, me. You want to know exactly how to make my world, my feminine world, excitable and where I can be alive. And it takes some sort of like investigation, information, getting to know me, who I am. So, you expert at knowing me, what actually are my needs. And I think that is very exciting for me because it keeps everything alive. That my husband is interested. Rather than like, I know this, you know what I mean? It's like, no. And I like that because you are there making sure that I am understood as a female. And to the point, you coming even to the communication course, like, I want to do this because it's very important to you. And I think, at least, I don't know if you're married or single. If you marry, you know what? It will be awesome that your husband is, wants to be expert at understanding your needs as a female, your needs as a partner in a romantic environment, in the environment of a household. What are your needs? It's amazing to have a husband like that. And if you're with a boyfriend or looking to someone to marry, look into a man that is actually interested in satisfying your needs. And I'm not talking about only the romantic needs. I'm talking like, what does she likes? Is she safe? Is she protected? Is she well fed? All of that encompasses feeling protected for a female. And also, the other thing is like, you are into this world of the tradition, right? Men takes the lead and they are there to support and protect the woman. And I am here to love and serve my husband. So, yeah.
Alice says she's the founder of Bhakti Kids Sangha, married with 2 kids.
Awesome. Well done. And you know what? I think your relationship will go to a different level if you yourself, you master as a female, as a woman, as a wife, you master what does your husband love. You can recreate him. It will be amazing that you become a recreator of your husband in whatever thing your area is not working. Then you know what? That means you are there present for your husband. You are there present for your children. What are their needs? What do they like? What they don't like? I am not talking about only food. It's just the emotional state where they are. What does it work for them? And yourself, it's like a symbiotic relationship between male and female. And once you master as a mother all of that, you're like, amazing. Your life will be in a different level, transformed. And that's how I find in my relationship with you. You're actually interested.
It's interesting to me how it always gets that quote. For me, when I read that in Prabhupada's books, I became very interested in what it means to be very expert. Because I was like, there's something that women like. Like, it doesn't say that women don't like a man who's not very expert at rape, but it's implied. It implies that women don't like a man who's not very expert, but they do like a man who's very expert. So I was like, what does that mean then to be very expert at that? Like, what is that? What is the nature of that? What is that thing there? Because it's a statement about female desire, female preference. But somehow in the communication of it, it always gets just transformed into women like being raped. It's like, I don't know why people continually turn it into that. I'm not sure why.
It will happen.
I guess it's just emotionally reactivating. Yeah, it'll be, people will
The first thing that when I read Srila Prabhupada, that quote, not
Mhm.
even only that, different quotes, women are unintelligent, like what? You know, I reactivated like so much. And I was just getting into the Bhakti
Abhidaya Devi Dasi. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. I was entering into this Hare Krishna world. I have no idea what it was about. But when I started reading that, I was just like, for what? And I talked to people. And when I talk to people, you know, the devotees that were more advanced in this area. What kind of religion is this? I was activated because I was feeling like defending myself, my honor as a woman.
Mhm.
And then I could understand, like, oh, women are less intelligent. I could understand why. The soul is full, you know, full of bliss, intelligent, and ever knowing, and everything, right?
Mhm.
It's like, okay. And then I could understand. And this means the emotions of a female, it so covers up what then she needs to see. And I see myself there. When we have like disagreement, you know, initially it was like to high level. And my emotions cover up what I need to actually listen. I was bringing more things about my self-confidence into the plate rather than actually getting your communication or the communication of the Bhagavad Gita into me. So now I could understand what does it actually mean by that. And I don't get activated about it because I know that I'm not a woman. I am a soul in a body of a female. And that's it. And what does it mean being in the body of a female? Hormones will be nuts. Emotions will be nuts. And feelings will be nuts. And it covers everything up. But now with this communication thing, I'm just like way more aware with the tools, you know, like, wow, what am I bringing to this? So my hormones, my emotions, my feelings doesn't block things. Or having, you know, listening or getting you. Yeah.
Have you watched that Namras podcast
Yeah.
about the moon landing? You know, we did the one about the fake moon landing, the one that Abhidaya Devi Dasi is talking about.
I think so. I don't know. I certain part of it.
Abhidaya Devi Dasi says, because 1 in 3 of us have been sexually assaulted, that's why we feel insulted.
Yeah, there is when she, at least when she said we've been sexually assaulted, I can see that it's a very triggering.
Yeah.
Absolutely triggering. And you know what? I'm with you. Being touched when you don't want to be touched, you know, just an example before my life in the Hare Krishnas. You know, when you go to a bar, everybody's busy and somebody else just, you know, pinch the butt. It's so insulting for me. Like, who is that is touching me without my consent? Is an insult. And especially to the part that is my body. So it's very insulting. And what more insulting would be for a woman that has been, you know, forcefully attacked in that way? It's diminishing, it is painful, it's embarrassing. God knows what other emotions comes to that. And I think there has to have I will get in touch with you, Alice, so we can go more into the discussion about this. Yeah, and I guess, yeah, I can understand your feelings there.
Oh, first of all, let's do this. Alice Abhidaya Devi says, thank you, Dana, for understanding where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I'm sorry that you went through that. It's not nice at all.
Well, she didn't say that she has.
Oh,
She's
I don't know.
saying 1 in 3 women.
Sorry. Yeah, correction. And I feel sorry for all the ladies that went through that situation. It's not pleasant. It's painful. It's degrading. The feelings in there is like, it's absolutely horrible. To the point that that instant is basically living in every day of the person, and to the point you don't feel like there is something about that energy of being molested or raped, sexually assaulted, or whatever way you want to understand that it carries these horrendous negative emotions in a female.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can understand, and I got upset as well when I read the Bhagavad Gita, and it was about Srila Prabhupada mentioning that quote, and it's upsetting for sure, and I can understand that.
Oh, she says I definitely have. You guessed correctly.
Okay.
That's why I get so upset when I hear it. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Especially when you have kids, it's a woman goes into a different world when, the protective nature is there for a female, making sure the kids are not attacked in that way because they have a lifelong suffering, trauma involved in that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because it kind of circles back around to upset being triggered by communication.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's not the communication itself, it's the upset. And the upset is not from the communication, it's from something from the past. And it means that in the conversation that you're in, there isn't actually communication there. Because I'll say one thing, which is what Srila Prabhupada said, and then what gets heard is something completely different because, there's a reactivation. I mean, it's obviously a very reactivating purport. And on the show, when I said it, I hadn't planned to go there at all, but somehow we ended up talking about the push to annotate Srila Prabhupada's books, and that was one of the main motivating purports for that. And it's obvious that's why that's one of the main motivating purports, because it does trigger such a strong reaction in people. A lot of people.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah.
If I could do it over again, I would. It needs to be like an entire episode, really, to be able to put it into context and to acknowledge all of the
nuances.
Yeah, and to acknowledge the impact or the upset that predictably can be triggered by that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there really is no space to hear anything beyond that, except there's like a lot of nuance that you were able to point to about expertise, which is but it's like it's like it's impossible to see that if the word rape triggers some upset about that, and then suddenly nothing else is visible there.
There is a lot of things to touch in that area. It's not just like, one explanation. There are different views into that. So what does it mean being expert at? And the word comes right. Could be expert at
anything.
Playing tennis, expert at, boxing, expert at swimming, expert at whatever. Quite unfortunate the word is there, but we have to study from different angles this topic or this sentence that Srila Prabhupada put it. In the psychology of females, the nature of females, there are so much to touch in that area. There are females in a mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance. What does it mean that? And also, what is the nature of females in the sense of what do they like? What are they into? So there is a lot of things because we are dominated by three mode of nature.
Yeah.
And there is, this discussion can take days and days too. Yeah.
Another thing connected to this is another contentious purport, maybe from Srila Prabhupada, is 136, I think, is where it's found. Woman, and it's from Manu Samhita, a woman should be protected by her father and then her husband and then her sons. Women should never be independent at any time.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so part of that is to protect them from that. But then there's also the issue of women being sexually assaulted by their own family members.
Mm.
So there's like, yeah, there's a whole world of upset out there because we're not just talking about theoretical situations, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever anyone's listening, like Abhidaya Devidasi, she's going to be listening from her personal experience, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
that was something that I didn't attend to in the Namras podcast, because the Namras podcast, we'll put that one up in a second,
Mm-hmm.
was about flat Earth forever, moon landing hoax, NASA lies, and CGI. That was what I wanted to talk about on there. And then in passing, we touched on that, and then I tried to contextualize it somewhat, and then rolled it into like a metaphor.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, yeah, it wasn't sufficiently, we didn't give it enough time and space, and I hadn't thought through all of the different kind of reactions that people would have, and how people would listen that, and what might get reactivated upsets. And
Yeah.
so if I were to go back and do it again, it would need to be in like an entire episode about it, looking at all of the different angles and aspects of the whole thing.
Yeah, definitely. That topic can be discussed in different areas, right?
And even then, I don't know if it would be it's kind of like, that's why they want to put annotations or edit it out, because it's like, how do you deal with that? Like, people react to it so heavily. Like, it's one of the main controversies around Srila Prabhupada's books.
I think that sentence can be elaborated in different ways, and for people to understand. Obviously, we have to get used to the fact that not everyone will be favorable to even listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
They will be so what do you call this one? Defensive about it, and it's fine. It's fine where they are. It's okay. We don't want to force them to understand how we understand the situation, or our explanation of things, or our point of view. At the end of the day, it's our point of view, how we see things, with the knowledge that we have about psychology, karma, the modes of nature, the whole thing about female world, everything. There's so many things we can put in the soup of the conversation.
Yes.
And
And
yes.
The metaphor that I made, see, what complicated even further was mashing it into this. It's like, Srila Prabhupada denied the moon landing before it didn't happen. He definitely would not be congratulating India on having an Atari moon lander faking a moon landing.
Mm-hmm.
He just wouldn't. And
the movie is coming about this moon landing thing.
Fly to the moon, fly me to the moon.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I mashed that up together with this other thing, and like, yeah, it's gonna be ultra inflammatory for a lot of people. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I apologize for Abhidaya Devidasi for dropping that like that without fully understanding all of the implications of how reactivating and upsetting that would be for people. That wasn't at all my intention with that communication. And, I 100% am responsible for that, that it landed that way. So, yeah, look, I've been looking at it a lot, about how to responsibly communicate that in a way that's recognizes what people have gone through and are going through, and the impact that would have on them. Abhidaya Devidas says, I really appreciate you saying that to me. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you for your generosity.
Yeah. Yeah. It happened, and it's fine. And that's in the past. But what you committed now is to communicate in a way that it lands
Yeah, exactly. It's like there are a lot of people who
Yeah.
are not aligned with what the World Economic Forum and Agenda 2030 and the whole thing.
Mhm.
And it doesn't work to be like upsetting people, along the way, because, I just remember people at the anti-mandate protest so upset, just screaming,
Mhm.
screaming at the
Mhm.
police. And yeah, it was like there was a lot to get upset about there, and a lot, to trigger your existing upsets.
Definitely. The major thing was betrayal, trust issues.
Yeah, if you
Yeah.
had any experience of betrayal in your childhood, and then you were there. I noticed that actually that a lot of people who didn't trust the government were people who had significant childhood trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were like, the government occurred for them as not like a trustworthy parent, as like someone, if they'd been experienced betrayal early in life,
Mm-hmm.
then they were very suspicious and yeah.
That's the thing about communication. The communication is basically everything that we carry from our childhood. It's in our communication to be given away
Mm-hmm.
in a way that may not be beneficial to the person who we're trying to communicate with. That's something that I got. It's like, oh, it was quite heavy to see that myself. Like, wow. So, and then we go inwardly. What is in there that I have to have access right at back,
Mm-hmm.
and then complete that and start from nothing. So it takes it takes courage.
Yeah, courage.
Yeah, it takes courage, and then it takes self-love to do that.
Mm.
Yeah, you have to have self-love in order for you to look inwardly. What is the world? How the world occurs to me. Yeah. Anyways.
Okay, shout outs to Vinny. Thanks for tuning in. Love your memes, brother. Keep bringing them. And then let's end with this here. It's an acknowledgement from Yamanuja Romero.
Yeah.
She says, I remember meeting Dana in New Zealand. She was so careful and being so honest with entering into the Hare Krishna world. Being around her, you could feel she was questioning everything. Her body language, everything was so attentive to everything around her. I'm happy to see her independent, strong, feminine qualities in a relationship where she is dependent and independent at the same time. It's nice to see a strong woman being okay, being protected.
I love that. Let's talk about the protection. Protection
now. Do it.
Just a little bit,
Yeah.
Not too much. Later on, we can look more into that.
Mm-hmm.
Protection doesn't mean I'm weak. Protection means that I am precious.
Mm.
And I don't mean about precious, like, what I mean? I don't mean that. I mean like somebody, in this case is my husband,
Mm-hmm.
knows who he has, that he has to protect. Because who I am to you and who I am for the future in our life, that's our children, I am the person who is going to give nurture, love, and all the things that our generation needs. And I feel that I'm loved in that way. I feel you love when you protect me. I feel loved.
Mm.
Imagine, like, for example, I don't have nothing interesting about this cup. I would just put it in the corner and not even look at it. When I see this cup and I say, this is an amazing cup and I love it, it has a lot of significance to me. And what do? Every single day I protect it, I care for it.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean the cup is like weak, simply has a lot of significance.
Mm.
And I love that. Yeah. And that way I am value. You value me.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing else to it. And these days, the females like, oh no, a man cannot protect. A man's like, yes, they can. And yes, this is their nature. That makes them like amazing. That gives them the drive. It gives them the sense of like joy. They feel like I am a man. I can protect my woman, What is it? Les nace.
It gives rise to.
It gives rise to being someone that never even imagined being. And at the same time, woman can be totally dependent and totally independent. It's like, how do you manage two things? Because these days, like, I'm independent, I don't need a man. Yes, you do need. Inside, you craving for someone that actually got you. It's right there for you. It's admiring you. It's valuing you. It's loving you. It's taking care of you. Yes, you do. Sooner or later, they go with the rebeldía, ¿cómo se dice?
Rebellion.
Rebellion. They go with the rebellion for some time to go to a certain age, and they just realize, oh my gosh, I'm getting old. Who's my companion? Who am I to share my life with? Who am I to express my love? Who's gonna be next to me, listening to me, my rants and my emotions, And then they go into this panic mode. If they don't go into this panic mode, they go into this hating mode, angry mode. And then that's what is expressed in their life, angry, like resentful and blah, blah. But you made that choice. Unfortunately, you got yourself directed or guided or manipulated by this idea of like, females can do it, everything. It's like, no one is saying you can't do anything. Simply is the nature of the feminine and masculine to go together. That is the design of it. That doesn't make you any less. That doesn't make you any more. It is just the dance of two natures, feminine and masculine nature.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the beauty of it. How do you express your feminine nature with the masculine nature? When at the same time, you're discovering your nature of like your personality, your strengths, your values, your principles, and what do you get in this, your purpose in life, and what to speak or sharing that with somebody else. It's like precious. That's my view. You don't have to view it that same way, but anyways.
Okay.
Yeah. Anything you want to say, baby?
Top of the second hour, we're there. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for the great questions, commentary, interactions, acknowledgements. Really appreciate it.
I love the whole involvement of conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it was great.
right.
We're gonna play the outro.
Yeah,
we made a new intro. We haven't made an outro. We should make an outro next time.
Okay, sure.
Okay, we're just gonna go with this outro.
Okay.
Okay, thanks for tuning in. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Ram.
Okay. Take 4. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Okay. Take 4. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, oh Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,